chances for a job.
So you're saying that there's a union plot?
Yes. Yeah. I think that the teenagers who are
I am absolutely astounded, sir. I am absolutely astounded every night on this programme how people make such massive decisions on such flimsy evidence. Your evidence is about as much good as a rice paper bucket.
Say that there is no need for employment amongst the teenagers who are leaving school. I mean, sure, I know quite a few girls.
Then why don't you go to those few girls and say...
I'll tell you what the thing is. The home that I work at is a private institution, and they're against private institutions being...
In that case, allow me to tell you something, Sarah. The local authority, in terms of Lancashire County Council, do not operate the YTS scheme. That is operated by a central government body called the Manpower Services Commission. Now, it is well within your ability, I am sure, to write to the local YTS area, to your job centre, if you like, and explain to them that there are 2 vacancies at the home. Simple. Do that. You never know. You might get a result right into the right people.
What I would like to say is that the social services are run by the unions, and they won't let...
Sarah, you have come on here with one intention and one intention only, and that has been to actually slag off the Labour Party. You have failed miserably because your facts are based on fiction. Good night, madam. You are totally, utterly and completely wrong. You don't even know who's running the pigging council, you dumbbell. How do, Mary?
Hello. After that phone call, I don't know whether I should come on. I mean,
you better make your mind up, sharpish.
Yeah, I do. Right, I work at Brockhall. Yeah, but it's totally different to what she's been on about. Okay. Now, there's one thing that the medical profession, the hierarchy in the medical profession at the moment are talking about shutting these places. And
well, first of all, it's not entirely the hierarchy in the medical profession. It's the administration, indeed the government bodies that are withdrawing the money.
Yeah.
So it's administrators making that decision, not the medical profession.
Yeah, but that's not really a point I want to make. I mean...
Well, we've still got to have the facts.
Yeah, okay, thanks a lot. These residents, right, are going to be literally thrown out of a place where they lived for practically 60 years of their life, which is sort of 90% of them, into the community, right? Into either small residential homes or next door to you.
Yes, we know what's going to happen, Mary.
Yeah. Well, what's your opinion on
Well, what's yours, Mary?
Well, mine, I think it's absolutely ridiculous, as do a lot of nurses at, both the institutions in Lancashire.
Can I suggest to you, Mary, that I agree with your point of view, but I believe that one of the major causes of the dilemma has been the nursing profession.
How's that?
I'll tell you how that is. The nursing profession, and do remember I was a psychiatric nurse,
that's right, yeah,
have actually injured the rights of what we'll call mental patients for years. They have injured them by treating them like cabbages, by treating them like morons, by treating them like, quite honestly, animals. And I do not mean that in a physically violent sense. I mean by taking away their ability to exist.
No, let's put it right. I mean...
I am putting it right.
Yeah, okay, but, I mean, have you worked at Brockhall?
I wouldn't answer that question.
Should I mention it?
You have done. I wouldn't answer that question.
Right, okay. Well, let's put it this way, right? The patients in there, their life is... I mean, at Brockhall, that's all they know.
Mary, you're talking about a thing, in many cases, not all, I agree, but in many cases you're talking about a process that I'm sure you've heard of called institutionalisation.
Yeah.
Institutionalisation is brought about by many processes, but one of the major factors in institutionalisation is bloody awful nursing. Now, it may well be nursing under terrible conditions. It may well be nursing many years ago with little information, nursing in the dark, if you like. But it it also might be the constraints of finance, but it is still a fact that one of the major contributors to institutionalisation is bloody awful nursing. I told a tale on the radio some weeks ago, and I will tell it again. And I had occasion to go to a hospital ward, and it was in a long-stay psychiatric hospital. Not dissimilar to Brockholes, but it wasn't Brockholes, I will tell you that.
Yeah.
And the nurse on the ward, the charge nurse on the ward, excuse me, the charge nurse on the ward at 8:30 required that all those people who were incontinent went to the toilets before they got into their beds.
Yeah.
Very sensible.
Yeah.
All he did was go out of his office, stand by his office door and shout down to the day room, "All the wets." That was all he said. All the wets. Whereupon all the incontinent patients got up and went to the loo.
Oh, come on. I mean, that's charge nurse you're talking about, not the...
I am talking... I'm sorry,
like me.
I'm talking not about the charge nurse, and I'm sorry, Mary, if you're nursing people, you should have been able to see what I said.
Yeah.
I didn't just say that the charge nurse didn't teach them that. They've learnt that. You know what rote learning is?
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm sorry, you said you were a lot further down the level. I don't want to talk down to you.
No, right.
I just want to make sure you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But those patients had rote learnt that. And they rote learnt it to such an extent that they taught it to others by rote.
Yeah.
Now that is inadequate nursing, and all the money in the world won't get rid of it.
Yeah, but it's inadequate nursing because that's how we're supposed to act, you know, from the top.
Mary,
that's how
no.
we talk.
No, Mary.
We're not allowed to act
Mary.
the other way.
Mary, I'm sorry. I worked in a psychiatric hospital.
Yeah.
You can operate another way. Now, I was lucky. I worked in a short-stay psychotic unit.
Yeah.
So it's rather more, if you like, pump priming than long-term, if you like, long-term care.
Yeah.
But as you take away more of the jobs that an individual does for him or herself, you lower that person's ability to do their jobs themselves. Now, I agree with you that there are a lot of patients in a lot of hospitals throughout the country who cannot survive on their own in society. But a large contributing factor to that inability to survive was brought about by inadequate nursing. Many other things contributed too, but one of the major ones was inadequate nursing. And the psychiatric nursing profession needs to consider that as it beats its drum.
Yeah, fair enough. But, I mean, really, it depends which ward you're on and who's in charge. I mean, what you do, you know, it's who you're under. You know what I mean?
May I give you a very offensive answer to that, and
please
say
don't.
and say that was the answer given by the people at the Nuremberg trials.
Yeah.
They said it wasn't us that gassed them Jews, we were just giving orders.
Yeah.
I
fair
don't
enough.
accept the defence, we were just obeying orders.
Yeah, it's not a matter of orders. I mean, caring nurses, take care of patients as if, you know, like, a lot of nurses there...
Mary, let me say to you that it isn't entirely the nurse's fault. I didn't want to imply that, and I hadn't thought I had. I said many contributing factors, but one of them is poor nursing.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I believe
That,
psychiatric nurses in long-stay hospitals become as institutionalised as do their patients. They also develop the inability to see another way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens in this industry. We get people in this business who are institutionalised. They've been doing it that way for 20 years, so it must be right. I'm sorry, that doesn't exist. It can't be allowed to exist. It does exist. It cannot be allowed to continue. We've got to say, just because we've been doing it this way for 20 years, every day we must look at it again and say, are we doing it right? Now, in radio, it doesn't matter because it's just a bloody game, to be honest. But in psychiatric nursing and in other forms of nursing, it does matter. And when the nurse begins to relax and fall into the rote of the day, fall into the duty of the day, you then have an irreparable situation.
Yeah.
And that's what exists in long-stay psychiatric hospitals all over the country. And that's what the government are trying to deal with. Now, the government, they're also doing it to save money, we all know that.
Yeah.
They're doing it wrong.
Yeah, but it's not really...
But something's got to be done.
Putting them out into community.
Well, it's moving the money from one pocket to another, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But the government, I maintain vehemently, the government are doing it wrong, but their objectives are absolutely right. A nurse, her job always, or his job, should be to be redundant. Now, in long-stay hospitals, that is not the case. They cease to work towards getting the patient out.
Yeah.
And that is essential in a hospital. That is the job. There is no other job. Everything else works towards that. But the job is to get the patient out.
Yeah, but really, what I was talking about at the beginning is that, like, most of these patients, they've been there for 60 years. You know, how the hell...
I know, and as I said at the beginning, Mary, I agree with you. It is now not physically possible to be successful in getting the patients out.
No, I mean, they've started too late, haven't they?
Pardon?
They've started too late in getting them out now.
They have started too late, Mary, but if they don't start now, they can't change the rules in such a way as to say, OK, all new patients will have a policy of get them out, because those new patients will come in, the new blood in the nursing will come in, and they'll learn the old habit.
There's no new patients.
Well, they won't.
Take them in.
Indeed, they won't take them in.
No.
But that's how it's got to be, because it is such a problem. I'll tell you a tale that is similar, only it's about one individual human being, and it's true.
Yeah.
I can't name him and wouldn't even dream of doing so anyway. We shall for this occasion call him Fred, and that was not his name.
Yeah.
But Fred came into the hospital many times. He's basically a violent man. He was a gentle, kind man, but occasionally he would go into fits of rage brought about by entirely unpredictable stimuli.
Mm-hmm.
And he would break up the furniture, smash up the home, occasionally assault his wife and his children. He'd be brought into hospital in a violent state.
Yeah.
And that happened dozens of times. He would be given chemotherapy, occasionally ECT. Everything was tried. And when it finished, he went back to the environment from whence he came. So he relearnt the problems. Eventually, the decision was that where they would perform an operation called a prefrontal dichotomy, you know what that is. Yeah. For the benefit of others, the simplistic way of explaining it, it is just the severance of some of the wires, if you like, the contacts within the brain. And it is supposed to remove the effect of previous experiences.
Yeah.
That's the gist of it. That patient came back to us from where he went for his operation. And our nursing staff, and I've got to say probably including me, but our nursing staff then treated him in exactly the same way he'd been treated before. In other words, he was back, he was the same bloke, he was dealt with in the same way, and it did him that much good.
Yeah.
None.
Exactly.
Well, that is what's happening now in the hospitals. They're saying, look, there's no way we can bring new blood in here, we've just got to clear it out. And that will mean people will suffer, but we've got to bite the bullet and say, get them out, let's start again, because we've ballsed it up.
Yeah, I know, but it's still not right on them, is it?
The answer to that is no, but what's the alternative? Let you lot rot them to death?
Oh, come on, we're not as bad as that.
No, you're not as bad as that, but you've got to face facts. What do you want to do?
I know what you're on about.
Do you want to wipe their bums and their noses till they die?
Well,
give them a break. Give them a chance. You never know. You never know. Because quite honestly, it is no life in a psychiatric hospital long stay. It is no life at all. Now, you're going to tell me they don't know that. Well, that's crap.
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't.
Good.
You're jumping to conclusions.
Good, but that's what I hear so often. They don't know what they're doing.
No,
well, I'm sorry.
I would never say that, no.
Well, get them out.
Yeah, I know, but thing is, I mean, what I'm saying is they don't know anything else. I mean, they've got... Like,
I just told you you'd say that, Mary, and you said you wouldn't.
No.
That was what I said you'd say, Mary, and you said you're not going to say that.
I never said.
They don't know anything else.
No. You said that they didn't know what they were doing, sort of thing, you know.
Well, it's the same statement. No. They don't know anything else. No. Well, let's teach them something else. Let's let them find out something else. You never know. They might actually survive it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
All right, love.
Yeah, thanks, Alan.
Keep up the good work anyway.
Right.
How do, Bill?
Alan, I'd like to talk about door staff. You made a statement a few weeks ago about more being thugs and the people that hired them should be imprisoned. Am
Well, if you're similar to that, it means you're wrong.
No, I'd like to say anyway.
What I said was bouncers. Bouncers are thugs. Full stop.
I'm talking about doormen on nightclubs.
Some of them are thugs and all.
Yeah, but not all.
Not all of everything is ever right.
There's a lot of places that hire door staff, or bouncers as you call them. If they didn't have them people on...
First of all, Freddie, you chose to call the door staff bouncers, not me. I differentiate between door staff and bouncers. Bouncers are people that parade inside, beating people up merely because they don't like the look of their face.
True.
The truth is that not all members of the Waffen-SS were bad. But I'd condemn them all.
Yeah, but, alright then, about door staffs on nightclubs.
I am prepared to say that a large proportion of door staff on nightclubs should be behind a different kind of locked door.
Yeah, but I'd say...
known as a prison.
Also, quite a lot of good doormen. If you didn't have them...
What is your definition of a good doorman, Bill?
A good doorman is a person who can talk to a person and put a person out by talking to them and not beating their heads in because they've had a drink too much.
I will accept your definition of a good doorman. I will not accept that there are many of them about.
I think there's quite a lot. I've worked in the door for many of a year.
Well, I've worked in clubs now for 20 odd years anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm still looking for that doorman you described to me. That gentle fellow.
Well, there is a lot of good doormen about.
That gentle fellow who kindly asks the disgraceful person to leave.
Well, I tell you what, we where I work anyway, have asked people to leave, and they have left. All right, sometimes you do have to use a minimum amount of force, but you
I love that
go
phrase.
overboard.
Of course you shouldn't.
And we don't. If
I'm glad to hear it, Bill.
Overboard,
I'm glad to hear it. I wonder whether other people have the same measurement that you measure a minimum amount of force by.
Well, I don't know about that, but
perhaps you should take the trouble to find out, Bill.
I've worked about 5...
Perhaps you should take the trouble to find out, Bill.
Well, I have. I've worked at 5...
You just said you don't know. Now you're telling me you've taken the trouble to find out.
No,
well, which of those statements is true, Bill?
5 or 6 different nightclubs in the town where I am now.
Fine.
And we don't put people out that way. I have met bad doormen who would...
Bill, I'm sorry. As far as I'm concerned, you are hired guerrillas. Full stop. If you don't like that opinion... Yes, that is my opinion, and that's the opinion I express on this programme.
Yeah,
you've said yours, I've said mine. All right?
Yeah, but do you not think you get good ones?
I've already said there must be a good one somewhere.
A good one?
Well, there may be two.
I think you're well wrong. Oh, I
sure you do think...
nightclubs.
Well, I don't intend to use nightclubs other than to earn me corn. I go into nightclubs for money. Probably the same as you do. In actual fact, I consider them to be disgusting places, but I'm perfectly prepared to go into disgusting places for my money.
Well, it's only the same as a doorman, isn't it?
Pardon?
He's got to earn his living somewhere.
I've never broken a nose doing my job.
I haven't broken one doing my job.
Then you're obviously not as good as your mates. How do, Freddie?
Hello, Alan. I'd like to talk about a film that was on TV last night. And this film I've seen on video, and on TV they've cut many bits out of it, and the film didn't make...
Don't tell me. Write to the television company.
Well,
I don't care. If they cut it all out, I'm at work. Why should I give a monkey's cut?
So, the film didn't make sense.
Well, it's all right. They're not meant to. They're only meant to fill a couple of hours. Good grief. Hello, Grace.
Greg.
Greg, sorry.
I'd like to talk about the Northern Ireland problem.
About what?
Northern Ireland problem.
Well, get on with it!
All right. Me and mate tonight having a talk.
Oh, goodbye. You're obviously too much of a prat to have a sensible opinion on that. Hello, Stuart. Stuart's gone and we're well shut of him. Tim, we'll be with you after the break.
West Horton Car Radio stock the superb range of Blaupunkt and Panasonic in-car entertainment systems. They also install electric windows, door locks, vehicle alarms and car phones, assuring you of the finest products fitted to perfection. Contact West Horton Car Radio at Church Street, West Horton. Phone West Horton 814-229.
On the instruction of the liquidators of Bay K Kitchen Furniture, the following items are to be auctioned on Wednesday, April the 9th. 14 display kitchens, electrical appliances, showroom display equipment, office furniture, machinery and 2 motor cars. For your auction catalogue, call Blackburn 52424. That's Blackburn 52424.
Did you know that 3 people out of 7 in Lancashire have relations in Australia? Red Rose Radio and National Travel World do, and that's why we want to invite you to our Australian evening at Preston Guildhall on Friday, April the 11th. There will be the fabulous Jim Bowen's Bullseye and full cabaret show with great prizes to be won. Everyone attending the show will go into the grand draw for a return aircraft seat with Qantas to Melbourne or Sydney, and the winner of the Bullseye game will win 2 weeks holiday in Australia. There'll be lots of giveaways and lots of surprises, so don't miss out. Book your ticket at any branch of National Travel World or Red Rose reception now. They're only £2 each, and a bus will run you to and from the show free of charge. Make it a night to remember with Jim Bowen's Bullseye, Qantas, National Travel World and Red Rose Radio on Friday, April the 11th.
Hello, Tim.
Hello. All I was going to say was, in reply to what the woman was saying a few minutes ago about pornography and videos and stuff like that, don't you think that having stuff like that prevents people going on the streets and doing what they're supposed to be doing, raping and stuff like that?
No.
Well, I think it does a little bit, and up to a way, prostitution and stuff like that.
Well, prostitution isn't pornographic literature. I'm prepared to accept an argument that prostitution can allow those who haven't the ability to form a relationship with a woman to have sexual gratification. However, I do not accept that a magazine can do that.
Right. Personally, I think it does a bit.
Fine, then we have a difference of opinion, Tim.
Yeah, okay.
Cheers, ta-ra. Hello, Craig.
Hello? Is that Alan?
Who are you expecting?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, when you do know, ring me back. Hello, Gina.
Hello, Alan. I want to talk about an abortion.
Go on.
In my opinion, I don't think there's any excuse for abortion.
Ever? Under any circumstance?
No, I don't. Under any
Why not?
circumstances. Well,
Why not?
I mean, it's a life, isn't it, that we're killing?
Well, don't ask. Tell me.
I know, I've heard you talking the other night anyway about rape. For a girl to get raped. I know it's an awful thing for the girl and everything, but I don't believe that life should be killed because of that action.
What if it is going to ruin the life of the mother?
Yes, I understand that, but...
What if it drives the mother to suicide?
No, I don't believe that it would.
Well, it has done on more than one occasion.
Well, I still don't believe that it should...
Well, Gina, if you do not believe reality, then is there any point in me conversing with you?
No, well...
I'm glad to hear it. How do Mel?
Mel.
How do Phil?
I've been listening to the debate on the Channel Tunnel just recently.
On the what?
The Channel Tunnel.
Well, it can't have been that recently.
Well, you know what I mean, fairly recently. And I can't say that I agree with it, really. I mean, the money could be better spent on public services.
Well,
what do you think on the subject, really?
It will be a public service. How do Myra?
Hello, Bill.
Fred.
Hello. Sorry. Bob Hope asked for a glass of milk in a dirty glass.
Yes, you're probably right.
It was in, I think...
It was the road to something or other. It was the very first road to...
Paleface, I think.
No, I think it was one of the Road to films, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. I would have thought Paleface.
Possibly. Possibly. Yes, I think you're right, but we still knew what he was on about, didn't we?
Yeah.
Ta very much. Ta-ra. How do to Mr. Summer? Panama. Have you got a Christian name?
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, that'll be my full name, and you don't allow it, do you?
Well, I want to know what your Christian name is. Obviously, you don't know it. Goodbye. How do Ron?
Good morning, Alan. How are you?
All right, thanks. How do Roy?
All right. I'd like to talk about people with ginger hair, if I may.
Sure you would. How do Robin?
Yeah, Alan, earlier on in the evening, you said you were talking to a woman, right? And
I've spoken to lots of women this evening.
Yeah, well, she was talking about advertising, and
that's right.
Came up with the one about smoking and...
Yes, we heard it. What have you got to say?
Yeah, well, you said that in your little collection of adverts that come on every now and again, you don't have two adverts on that are in competition.
No, I didn't say that. I said the IBA have a policy where two adverts should not be advertising the same product.
Yeah, well, a little later after that, there was an advert for something to do with markets or other, and directly after that, another advert came on to do with markets.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. So your computer is obviously wrong.
Well, fine. The day they invent an infallible computer, I suppose we'll buy one. Till then, we'll have that bucket of junk we've got upstairs.
Yeah, I suppose so then.
Ta-ra.
Okay, ta-ra.
How do, Vince?
Hello, Alan. About 3 months ago, me and my family received a letter from a solicitor saying, could we come to his office? So he had some news for us. But at first we thought it was bad news, but apparently when we went, the solicitor, he told us that he was acting on behalf of my mother's great uncle or something or other. I still don't know his full title. And he had left us quite a substantial amount of money. Anyway, we went back to our house, we talked it over the family what was to do with this money. And we assumed that the money was too much. It was a really substantial sum, and we thought there was some illegal dealings going on. Anyway, we went to the solicitor and we told him why I was being worried about the money, the inheritance, if you like. And we asked to come clean and tell him what we asked him. Where's all this money come from? And it just so happened that my Uncle Fred, he had a Venetian blind factory running around in Lancashire, and that's how he made his money. But my older sister said to him, isn't it a lot about this money? How come he's made? Well, actually, it was about £1 million. It might sound astronomical, but it was about £1 million what it was. He said, isn't it rather a lot of money what he's made just for selling Venetian blinds?
And
so he turned round to us and he said, if he wouldn't have been making them, we'd have been curtains for a lot of us.
Thank you very much, Vince.
Good night.
Ta-ra. How do, Ivan?
Alan?
Yeah?
I reckon that Tozarovich is going to win the Grand National. Good job you're not riding it, you fat...
How do, Alan?
Hello, this is Alan, the compulsive gambler.
Oh, dear.
I've just come in tonight, and the wife's she's bending the shirt, you know, she says, a stitch in time saves 9.
Aye.
What the hell does that mean? What is it, 9 four-wheel tricycles and 9 armoured German trams?
Well, Alan,
what?
if ever you come to see my Beswick at large, I promise to tell the story about a stitch in time sells 9.
Oh, you know.
I know the answer to that,
these
yes.
signs, you know, like...
I know what it is. I know the answer only too well.
On that one, yeah. A bird in the hand's worth...
Does it on your wrist? Yeah, that's a Mike Harding joke. A bird in the hand does it on your wrist.
That came from Preston, that one. That joke. It was made in Preston, because...
I see.
A bird in the hand was a call girl, a girl, you know, a call girl on the streets.
I see.
Now,
I don't think we want to have this mucky talk on the radio,
well, it's not mucky, it's...
It's as if it's two birds, they crap everywhere, birds.
Yeah, well, 2 bears in the hand, in the 2 bears in the bush, was the 2 call girls in the pub.
Was it, begad?
And there's a pub called The Bush in Preston. That's where the actual...
That's where that comes from, is it?
That's where that one comes from, right?
I see.
And if you take a horse to water, just think what a wet horse smells like.
I know, it's awful. Awful.
It's terrible, absolutely terrible.
Absolutely.
And my wife talks to me like water off a duck's back.
Does she?
Every time I come in, yeah. Every night I come in, she talks to me.
Well, there's some nights when you don't come in.
Terrible. Well, I just stay out, you know.
I bet she's glad. Ta-ra.
See you.
He's puddled him, isn't he? Hello, Barbara.
Hello, Alan.
Hello. You'll have to be quick, because we've got an horrible noise on the line.
Okay. Oh, it's the lights.
Is it?
Yeah, I'll switch them out if you like.
Ooh. We'll be in the dark together.
I'm going to say about the woman who was speaking earlier about abortion. It's a subject I feel very strongly about. Not that it shouldn't be allowed, but that I feel that counselling given to the young women in the pregnant situation is very inadequate, because they're usually either rushed along by upset boyfriends to go off and have abortions, or the doctor just whizzes them off to refer them to another clinic, since they can't get an abortion readily in the Preston area. And I think that's a little bit off.
When you say the counselling is not very good, what do you mean?
Well, I gather there isn't any. The doctors generally just refer young women, unless they're underage, they're generally referred to clinics outside the area which specialise in abortions.
Yes, but are you suggesting that the doctors approve that abortion before the referral?
Well, I gather they don't approve...
You see, there are some doctors who will not have anything to do with abortion. Now, they are legally required to tell that to the patient and pass the patient on to a doctor that will contemplate it. Now, is that what you're saying is happening?
No, in the Preston area, they do not. The local medical authority does not advocate abortion in this area,
Yes.
and therefore will not do anything about it unless it's, I gather, underage girls.
Yeah.
So they automatically refer anyone who wants information about abortions to clinics outside the Preston area.
Yes. But whether they were prepared to contemplate performing abortions themselves or not, the counselling received by the patient would presumably still not be adequate.
That's right, it isn't adequate.
No, I accept that in your view it's not adequate, but I don't understand that this referral system that they have as a policy in Preston, you tell me, actually removes the counselling process. They will still have to be counselled at the other end, wherever it is, or to wherever they're referred. They will still have to be counselled at that place.
Yeah, but the counselling is done by these clinics who are almost on piecework, because you can't get it on the National Health in the area. So you've got.
So what you're saying, in fact, is that
they're private clinics.
They're private clinics,
Yeah.
and they are going to do it just for the brass.
Yes.
Is this something you have considered taking up with your MP?
I'm not actually very familiar with my MP since I've only just moved into Preston area
Okay.
recently.
Well,
but
you
I
seem
used
to have
live
had time to get the policies, or to make your assumption about the policies of the Preston medical team, so perhaps you should find out who your MP is and go and debate with him or her whether that is an acceptable policy, or indeed if it is a real policy. I have my doubts at it being a real policy, to be honest.
It was in the press a few years ago.
Well, the times change in years. I mean, it was in the press a few years ago that the Bismarck had been sunk, but we're not still talking about that.
That's a little bit before my time, I think.
Yes, it's a bit before mine, but it was in the press a few years ago, you know? So just because something was in the press a few years ago, the situation may well have changed. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Smart as out, Barbara. Right to your MP.
All right.
I'll do Julie.
Hello, Alan.
Yep.
I'm a psychiatric nurse as well. I've worked in a big hospital, and I moved to a smaller unit.
Yeah.
And that girl that was on, talking about it, we've altered all our ways of working. And we've got patients from the big hospitals that come to us for rehabilitation. And it is working. It does work with a lot of long-stay patients that's been in the main hospitals, you know.
Right then, well, thank you for that reassuring call. All right.
I work nights, you know, on the unit that I'm on, and your programme, we put it on about 11 o'clock at night. We have half a dozen or more patients with us, sat at the nurses' station, and they won't go to bed till they've listened to your programme for an hour, and they go to bed and they're quite happy.
Well,
so thanks very much.
I'm sorry to tell you this, Julie, but as far as I'm concerned, that merely confirms the point of view that they're none too bright.
Well, no,
It's all right, I'm taking the mickey.
And they laugh about it.
That's what we want.
You know, and they go to bed and they're quite happy.
Smart. Ta-ra.
Well, thanks very much.
Ta-ra. Alan will be with you after the ubiquitous break.
Blinking egg, Dad. Why don't you get a decent radio to match this flash car?
Well, that one cost an arm and a leg, but it's never been much good.
You need to contact West Horton Car Radio, mate. They've got superb systems by Blaupunkt and Panasonic. Hey, and they've got the Blaupunkt E-Stock range at less than half the normal price. None of this distortion like with one of them.
Blaupunkt what?
Blaupunkt. It's German, ain't it? I thought you were supposed to be brainy. Hey, you can also get electric windows, vehicle alarms and car phones fitted by West Horton Car Radio.
Oh, find the right station with West Horton Car Radio, Church Street, West Horton. Phone West Horton 814-229 before you crack up.
Quality service and choice. Who gives you the best? Best Winnipeg have kitchens and bathrooms galore. Who can say more? Best Winnipeg. Continental elegance, the best in quality. The kitchen of your dreams, Bell Cuisine.
For brochures from Blackpool 864141.
Bell Cuisine, beautiful kitchens.
The kitchen of your dreams, Bell Cuisine.
Roll up, roll up. Visit Cleveley's new open market, Orion Social Club car park, Cleveley's, every Wednesday and Friday now till October, 9:30 till 4:30. Thank you, Golf.
It's the place to come, where shopping can be fun. The Newmarket Waterloo Road.
If you want to shop for the real bargains, you'll be well advised to visit the Newmarket and M2 Market on Waterloo Road, Blackpool. They're over the road from one another, which makes shopping for bargains all the more convenient. But beware of imitations. When you've found the Newmarket, you've found the M2 Market, and vice versa. Shop at the Newmarket and M2 Market, opposite each other on Waterloo Road, Blackpool. They're the original, and they're still the best.
It's the place to come, where shopping can be fun. The Newmarket Waterloo Road.
Now do, Alan.
Hello, Alan. I wonder if you could tell me why the morning market show on Red Rose doesn't allow furs to be sold or, advertised in a way.
I think it's got something to do with the fact that it would be a bit controversial, firstly. Secondly, because they are often in very, very poor condition. And when you sell a fur, you could be selling somebody fleas and all that kind of thing. So there are too many hidden dangers. Just like selling cars, we don't allow that either.
Oh, I see. Oh. Right, thanks very much.
It's all right.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. How do Paul?
I'll do, Alan. I want to talk to you about Club Dorman.
What do you want to say about him?
Do you disagree that...
That's a question. You don't want to say anything about him. You want to ask questions. We don't do surveys on this show. Get off. Hello, Gina.
Hello. I'm talking a thing about it. You're going on about solicitors. You don't like them and things like that.
Never said I don't like them. I just think they get a lot of money for doing sod all.
I'm involved with a solicitor over a conversation with the firm that I work for, and I haven't heard from him since October. And I've phoned him twice, and he said he's waiting for a letter off my consultant from the hospital. I'm due to see my consultant tomorrow. Am I in my rights to ask my consultant if he sent a letter to my solicitor?
Of course you are. You can ask your consultant what you like.
Can I ask him what he's put in the letter?
You can ask him, but he's not necessarily, in fact he's not, required to answer you.
What do you think he'd think if I did ask him? Would it be wrong?
That depends on the... No, it wouldn't be wrong of you to ask him. You ask him tomorrow.
I will do.
Now, he'll probably say, I'm sorry, he may say, I'm sorry, I'm not required to divulge what I said in the letter. But he might even show you a copy of it. It depends on the consultant.
Okay, then.
All right, love?
Right, thank you.
Ask him anyway. How do, Anne?
Hello, Alan. You said on your programme before that half the Scousers who have appeared on your programme have used bad language.
It's actually more than half.
Well, I've been listening to your programme for quite a while now, and I can honestly say that I've never once heard the Scouser using bad language.
No, well, you can't.
Why?
Because I cut the bad language off so that you can't hear it. We have a delay mechanism.
Oh, you know the boy who was on before, he said about the leopards in Liverpool?
Yes.
Well, when he said, why don't you leave us alone, he didn't mean you in particular. He meant,
I know he didn't.
I know, well, you jumped on and, you see,
So?
he only meant,
I know what he meant.
and you know the woman from Southport?
Go on.
So he was referring to her, not you.
Well, he may well have been, but he said it to me.
Yeah, no, but he was only saying it through you. He didn't mean you in particular.
Well, fine, but he was addressing the whole community, so I responded on behalf of the whole community, given that they were not able to respond for themselves at that particular moment.
Yeah, no, but...
Well, I'm glad you appreciate that.
Yeah, no, but, it is true that a lot of people are prejudiced against Scousers.
Absolutely. It's also true that they've sometimes earned that reputation.
Yeah, no, but everybody in the country, and, every city in the country earns that reputation.
Well, in that case, they should be picking on every city in the country, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
But they appear not to be.
Oh, you know that boy? He was my brother.
Well, it still doesn't mean... Which boy do you mean?
The one who said, why don't you leave us...
Oh, him?
Yeah, he's...
Oh, well, there's a whole family of them. That's amazing.
Pardon?
Are you ringing from some kind of mental institution?
No, I'm not. I'm ringing from Liverpool, actually.
Ah.
Okay, bye.
Ta-ra. How do, David?
Hello. If you're set upon in the street, as I was the other night, quite badly beaten up, including a rather badly grazed eye, are you entitled to claim some kind of compensation, even if you don't know who's attacked you?
It's a little more difficult if you don't know who attacked you, but if you've reported the matter to the police, and I presume you have...
Yes.
Then it is acceptable for you to make a claim for criminal injuries compensation.
How do you go about that?
the easiest way is to get a form from your nearest Citizens Advice Bureau. But the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board is in London, their headquarters. Any solicitor will tell you where, the library will tell you where, and if you just phone them up, they'll send you a form.
I see. Because, I mean, you know, I've got a blurred vision in one eye, and, you know, I don't know who... I don't know who's
Whether you've got your eye took out or not, the rules remain the same. You apply.
I see.
Okay.
And can I just ask your opinion of people with ginger hair?
You can ask my opinion, of course you can. How do John?
Hello, Alan. Is it true you should be driving instructor?
Why do you want to know?
I hate to come with you. You've been dead morning.
Sorry?
You'd have been dead morning.
I don't even know what you mean.
You know, every time a pupil made a mistake, you'd have absolutely robbed him.
Well, that's my job as a driving instructor, wouldn't it? What are they meant to do, gloss over? You got to pass a test.
Yeah, but,
You don't want your driving instructor to be your lifelong friend. You wanted to get you through your driving test.
Yeah, but
what do you want him to do? Tell you jokes? Hey, you did that wrong! That was a belter, that! I've not seen that mistake for years! That was bloody brilliant! Can we do that again tomorrow?
When I was learning my instructor, when I made a mistake...
Do you mean when you were learning from your instructor?
Yeah, that's what I meant, yeah.
Yes.
He said, oh, you know, he just got over it.
How many times did you take your test?
Me. Passed it on the third time.
Third?
Yeah.
If I'd have taught you and shouted at you, you'd have got it the first. Ta-ra.
See you.
It's time for another little break, and then a tidgy bit of music, and then I'm pigging off.
A far, far better furniture store.
Edmondson's of Blackburn, a far, far better furniture store. For lounge, dining room and bedroom furniture, for famous names in quality carpets, for all home furnishings. Edmondson's offers choice. Edmondson's gives first-class service, and Edmondson's guarantees value for money. All round a far, far better furniture store at Darwin Street, Blackburn.
A far, far better furniture store. Edmondson's.
Attention all decision makers, sales directors, sales managers and buyers. You cannot afford to miss the Lancashire Industry and Commerce Business to Business exhibition at the Exhibition Centre, Norbreck Castle Hotel in Blackpool. This extravaganza on a wide cross-section of industry takes place on the 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th of April with over 200 companies represented. It's the Northwest's leading industrial event. So make a date in your diary for the Lancashire Industry and Commerce Business to Business exhibition at the Norbreck Castle Exhibition Centre, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th of April.
It's the place to come, where shopping can be fun. The Newmarket Waterloo Road.
Waterloo Road in Blackpool has a number of markets dotted along it, but two of them stand out from the rest, the Newmarket and M2 Market. They're both packed with top-quality bargains to give you peace of mind when shopping. The Newmarket and M2 Market are also convenient because they're directly opposite each other on Waterloo Road, Blackpool. Don't settle for anything else and don't be fooled by imitations. The Newmarket and M2 Market are the original and still the best.
It's the place to come, where shopping can be fun. The Newmarket Waterloo Road. Red Rose Baby.
And searching for a light. There's darkness all around.
I rather like this tunette. It's the Ra Band on this occasion and Messages from the Stars. It's rather like me saying hello to you. It's very nearly 2 o'clock, so I'm pigging off. I'm coming back tonight at 10, all being well. And I'll be with you through to 2. Derek Webster, of course, is with you already. Well, he's in here, bimbling around, clattering the place up and things. And he'll be with you till 6 to be replaced by Paul Fairyburn. It's a treat for everyone concerned, I suppose. I, fortunately, will be asleep. See you tonight at 10, Tara.
The 2 o'clock news, this is Mike Carson. A bomb has exploded without warning at council offices in Newry in County Down. The device is thought to have left somewhere inside the office complex. 3 people in nearby houses had to be treated for shock. The search for the TWA airline bomber is now concentrating on a known terrorist, a woman who was on the plane from Cairo to Athens. The Arab terrorist is named as Mansour, and a woman of that name sat in the seat 10F when the bomb is thought to have exploded on a later flight, killing 4 people. In South Africa, the black township of Vosloorus near Johannesburg is under virtual siege by security forces after a day of rioting in which 2 black men were shot dead by police. In another incident, a black woman was found burned to death in a township in the Eastern Cape. As the hunt continues for missing Leeds school girl Sarah Harper, local people are saying life in the tightly knit community of Morley may never be the same again. John Shires reports.
The town of Morley has been shattered by Sarah's mystery disappearance. Hundreds of police have been drafted in to search houses and countryside and interview virtually every local resident. Now, instead of the usual friendly atmosphere, there's an air of suspicion.
We tend to look at people now, especially men living alone, in a different light, suspiciously.
The abductions affected children too, with the streets strangely quiet.
There's no kids playing anymore, there's no footballs, there's nothing, it's just everybody's so afraid.
Meanwhile, with no clues, police remain baffled by Sarah's disappearance and hopes for her safety are fading fast. John Shires, IRN, West Yorkshire.
A seed company is planning to grow blue poppies in Perthshire and has come under attack from a local MP for adding to Britain's drug problem. The company insists there's little chance of anyone making illegal use of the flowers.